we are gonna learn about Machilipatnam. So let's start. Machilipatnam, located near the river Krishna. Machilipatnam in present-day Andhra Pradesh was then a small fishing village. It developed into an important trade center under the Gangkhod kings. Trades from across India, Paris and Europe had flourishing business and trade activities in Machilipatnam. As it was near the Bay of Bengal, the chief items of export were textiles and spices.
Great.
Anna Vikas, like
Okay. The Dutch made this port popular when they made it their trading center when Golconda was annexed by Mughals under Aurangzeb and the trade was controlled by them. The European companies started looking for alternative ports. The English East India Company overthrew the Dutch.
Good morning, everybody. Me, Laila, Aisha, and Nivya are going to present a cheap port town named as Surat. So let us start. Surat is a town which is situated near the river Tapti. Surat was an important port under the Mughal trader, and it was also like a trading town in Gujarat. Like Surat gained importance not for only because of it's a port city of West Asia, but also because it was where the Muslim pilgrims would their ships to Mecca, go to Mecca across it. So the topic for the poster is unity in all religions. So the poster is telling us about the togetherness in people of different religions. It tells us about the opinion of Sufis and Kabir Das about the unity in all religions. They say God is only one. All humans are equal and all Christians are different. Therefore, we should respect every religion. It has made a Hindu and Muslim, half is a Muslim, half is a Hindu. They have 2 years, we have 2 years. They have 2 wives, we have 2 wives. They have a book, we have a book. So this is my project that I made. So this shows that the unity of all religions and the equality as well, and it also shows that all religions have a different path, but they lead to God only.
Yes.
When we are in unity, we are like together, so we can fight with everything, and when we are not together, so we cannot do anything. Like we cannot fight with others.
All right.
Ma'am, I made this poster.
Wow, that's nice.
And this poster represents that all religions are one.
Yes.
And I write this unity in diversity.
Great. Very nice. So what do you understand by this line, unity in diversity? Please explain.
Ma'am, that all religions are only one,
Yes.
not 1, 2, 3 and like anything.
All right.
Ma'am, so today I am going to tell you some important teachings and life lessons of Sant Kabir. Kabir, a person who taught us some very important life lessons and central teachings, was born in Benares in 1398 CE. Now let's click on the page. I don't know why it's not clicking.
It's okay, you can copy that as well.
He had a vast collection of dohas and verses. Let's see some of his beloved and important verses. Ma'am, his first verse was, I'm not a Hindu, nor I'm a Muslim. I'm this body, the play of 5 elements, the drama of the spirit dancing with joy and sorrow. So ma'am, by this line, everyone gets to understand that how great he was. He was
Yes.
not
Very nice.
This basically represents that all the religions which are the most religions which are present on the world, they should be in the unity. And if they would be unity, so the bad people who are present on the world, they cannot break them. Even though if God has just made people, the religions have made it by the humans, we shouldn't we are agree that there are religions, but there shouldn't be strict orders spread in each religion. That if we are in a particular religion, so we have to do a particular thing in a particular period of time. So this thing shouldn't be there, which was the teaching of the Sufism.
Yes.
And that's it.
Very nice.
ma'am. Good morning everyone to the respected teacher and all of my beloved friends. Today we are united to just discuss the religious towns part of the chapter. The rulers constructed religious monuments to both exhibit their political power and to make cultural and religious spaces for the subject. Now, and by this important line, it means that everything which rulers constructed and the temples were very useful as they were a source of income. They provided livelihoods, they provided food, they provided jobs. For example, they provided the jobs to the people who were artists, who were fine artists, who used to draw things, who used to make sculptures, and further on, Parthi would take on.
Okay, yes, Bharti.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in South India, there's famous place that is Thanjavur and Madurai, and in North India there is Banaras, Mathura, and Samnath. And ma'am, these temples are too busy, and they are because they are in this temple. They are lots of people visit these temples.
Yes.
And in this temple, craftsperson and artistic towns were the capital cities.
Okay.
Where the kings but nodal sit
Okay.
and control the hill. Delhi was the capital city of the Delhi Sultans.
Okay. Anything
The
else?
king and his nodal, their role is to trade and go to different places. Would introduce the new art forms, music and crafts.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now I'm gonna tell.
Okay.
The interaction with traders led to the introduction of new art forms like music and craft.
Mm-hmm.
Artists who wanted to live in a livelihood place migrated to the administrative towns.
Okay.
These cities had very beautiful and large buildings, so
Okay.
they also attracted travelers a lot.
Great.
So, hello everyone, let's begin with our next topic, religious causes. Can someone please tell me, I just want from one person that what do they think that what we are going to do in religious causes? Ma'am,
Please.
please go on the first slide.
All right.
So, can someone please tell me their idea that what we are gonna do in religious causes?
Take names, Ridhima. Nobody is going to answer like this.
Can I answer?
Okay. Kushi, okay, yeah, you.
Okay, I think it's based around like religion, like because the word religious is there.
Okay, yeah, basically, yeah, you're correct. So, ma'am, can you please proceed to the next slide?
Okay.
We are just gonna do that only. So, there's a situation for you. Think if you were at the earlier time and Britishers forced you to transfer your religion from Hinduism to Christianity. How will you feel? What action will you take to protest against Britishers? So, what would you do? Pankudi, can you please tell me what your point of view about that? Pankudi, are you there?
Burma, and then they were stopped at in Vellore in 1824 at Barakpur, and they were crushed with several forces. They were stopped to go any further.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, as you all know, there are many causes of the revolt of 1857, and I will be explaining one of them, which is the social cause. So, this social cause was basically the attempts of the British to bring about social reforms in India, meaning their attempts to change the culture and ways of society in India and the culture that was already set in India. And as expected, this was not accepted by a large majority of Indians, as they felt that the British were interfering with their culture and their traditional way of living. Legislations against sati, infanticide, remarriage of widows, etc., these all were considered as interference in the customs of India. Now, another point to add was racial discrimination. I think you all are familiar with this one,
Yes, we are.
and that this was practiced by Britishers, basically white people. This angered Indians, as at the time they were not even allowed to rail the compartments, parts.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm Hansika. Today I'm going to tell you about the political causes. Lord Dalhousie was the Governor General of India for 8 years, 1948 to 1856. The annexion policy by bringing many territories under the company's rule in India. The anger and the anger Good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to tell you about one of the many causes which led to the revolt of 1857, which was economic causes. So the British people exploited the Indian countryside by imposing them high revenue on peasants and zamindars. Britishers forced the Indian people to only grow cash crops like indigo and opium, from which they couldn't grow any food crops or food grains. So they were only forced to grow indigo and opium. And Britishers were forcing Indians because they had the benefit, so that they could increase their company's revenue by this, and they used to export all the cash crops to the British industries so they could benefit themselves. So this was the reason for one of the reasons of the revolt of 1850.